Coming up on Mountain News at 6, one person is dead following a crash in Harlan County. We'll have the latest. And the mother of one woman who was killed 34 years ago in Bell County is still looking for answers as to what happened.
And we have a line of showers and thunderstorms pushing through eastern Kentucky, but we're not out of the woods yet. Details in a few minutes.
Dedicated to eastern and southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News at 6.
Well, things are calming down outside right now. We are bracing for some more stormy weather this weekend. First Alert meteorologist Eric Dean tells us what to expect. Eric.
All right, so we do have a flood advisory in effect for portions of the viewing area right now. Here's the latest, and this is for Bell, Knox, Laurel, and Whitley County. This is literally south of North Corbin through the Williamsburg, Saxton area, Middlesboro, Pineville area. That is where the flood advisory is located. This goes into effect for about another 45 minutes. Here's the latest now with live pinpoint Doppler radar. You can see that line of showers and thunderstorms pushing its way through eastern Kentucky. It's to the east of Pikeville now, and this is a pretty fast-moving system. You can just see over the past 3 hours how it just really got its act together, and now it's literally pushing out of here, which again will keep a stray shower or two throughout the evening and overnight hours, but the majority of us will stay partly cloudy. Made it into the 70s and 80s today, where we had 70s. That's where we had a substantial amount of rain. Low 80s from Manchester down to Williamsburg, upper 80s towards Jacksboro, and right now Jacksboro is sitting at 77. We're at 70 in Hazard, 69 Manchester, 74 in London. This is all rain cooled. Then you go up to Ashland, where haven't seen much rain, sitting at 81 degrees. And in terms of temperature, we're between, look at this, 3 degrees cooler to 20 degrees cooler as compared to 24 hours ago. Something's pushing through, and it's in form of a cold front. Now, how's that going to impact our weather for tomorrow? We'll talk about that in the First Alert forecast in a few minutes. Steve.
All right, Eric, thanks. One person is dead after a crash that happened earlier this afternoon in Harlan County. WYMT's Amelia Lee is near the site of the incident where traffic is moving again. Amelia?
Right behind me is US 119. I'm standing on Mosley Avenue, and this is the area where one person died after a crash this afternoon. Kentucky State Police say that they were called at approximately 1:30 this afternoon regarding this crash. When crews arrived, they diverted traffic to go through Highway 413. As you can see behind me, cars are already going through this area because that traffic has gone back to normal. At this time, all we know is that one person has died following this crash. We don't know the identity of that person, or do we know who else was involved in this crash. We are working to learn more, and we'll update you as we have more information. In Harlan County, Amelia Lee, WYMT Mountain News.
All right, and we hope to have more information regarding this crash tonight at 11. One person is dead after a vehicle hit a pedestrian on Interstate 75. That crash happened this morning on the Laurel County section of the interstate. 47-year-old James Zio of Corbin sustained injuries he could not recover from and was pronounced dead by the Laurel County coroner at approximately 6:30 a.m. A Southern Kentucky man once accused of murder is no longer in jail after a judge granted him immunity from prosecution. James Thomas Morgan was accused of killing his stepson in their home in August of 2020. Morgan spent almost 4 years in jail. Today, on Thursday, he was released. WYMT's Phil Pendleton has more on the decision to release him.
Sheriff's deputies were called to a home in the Loveless subdivision in Laurel County on August 25th of 2020. That's where James Thomas Morgan lived with his wife Ethel, her adult son Matthew Tosh, and other relatives.
I said, my husband just shot my son 3 foot away, and it was right in front of my face, and then he put the gun into my face, and then he's not even going to remember what he did.
Morgan was charged with murder and put in jail, and 4 years later he was released, cleared of prosecution from immunity. The judge agreed with Morgan's claims it was self-defense and the deadly force was justified.
And most of the things that James Morgan had said is a lie. My son never charged into the room. Matter of fact, the only thing he did do is, yes, he did bust the door in so I could get through because Tom Morgan slammed the door in my face.
The prosecutor in this case says this was a close call. Jackie Steele says there was testimony in one of the hearings that the victim came into a bedroom and was shot. The victim's mother says that her son was not armed at the time.
Matthew just stood by the doorway. He said nothing. He didn't do anything. He had no arms on him.
In court documents, prosecutors also argued that Tosh did not threaten Morgan in the bedroom and was moving away when shot.
As for him stating my son charged him, he wasn't. Matthew was behind me. He kind of leaned a little bit against the wall when I was in there.
Morgan's attorney initially said that Morgan was going to say more about this, but could not be reached Friday. In Laurel County, Phil Pendleton, WYMT Mountain News.
According to the judge's order, 911 calls, the autopsy, crime scene photographs, and diagrams were all reviewed. A Louisville man has been indicted on murder and tampering with evidence charges in Floyd County. A grand jury indicted Michael Colley on 1 count of murder and 3 counts of tampering with physical evidence. 1 count says Colley committed the offense of murder by hitting and kicking Patrick Shepard of McDowell in the head and body repeatedly. To see the rest of the counts, you can find this story on WYMT.com. 1 man indicted in connection with the murder of Amber Spradlin last year has submitted a request to be allowed to return to work. Last week, Dr. Michael McKinney's attorney submitted a motion to approve his return to work. The request follows a set schedule for each weekday. He was arrested earlier this month. 1 mother is continuing to wonder who killed her daughter while she was out for a jog nearly 3.5 decades ago. WYMT's RJ Johnson has more on this cold case from Bell County.
On August 16, 1990, 21-year-old Jennifer Bailey would go on a run at Pine Mountain State Park.
She didn't come back.
Days later, she was found strangled to death.
Found her a mile up on the park at a gravel quarry over in a ravine. 11 days later. But it was the worst days of our life. The worst days of our life.
34 years later, Jennifer's mom, Janice Bailey, still does not have any answers.
Don't get any information at all, don't know nothing more than we did then. We've had a lot of people saying stuff that don't go nowhere. But why in the world anybody want to kill a young girl like that for no reason? It's just pure devil.
Janice says she just wants to know who is responsible because someone out there has to know something.
It's just something that you don't understand, and it hurts to the bone. Whoever done it, I hope they have to face the same thing.
And for the last 34 years, Janice has worked to bring justice for her daughter.
She's as much here today as she was that day. I go out there and sit and talk to her. I go out there about every day and talk to her. My husband's buried right beside of her.
With the day not going by without thinking of Jennifer, Janice says she will not stop until she has answers. In Bell County, RJ Johnson, WYMT Mountain News.
Jennifer would be 55 years old if she was still alive. If you have any information about this case, you should call Kentucky State Police Post 10 in Harlan at 606-573-3131. Attorney General Russell Coleman unveiled the state's new resource manual for domestic violence prosecution today. The new features of the 2024 Domestic and Interpersonal Violence Prosecution Policy Procedure Manual focus on DV victims' rights in Kentucky. The Director of Partner Violence and Parenting Programs at the Nest Center for Women, Children, and Families of Lexington says victim advocacy is a key part of addressing domestic violence in the community.
We need victims to feel safe and empowered and supported so that they can come forward, share their story, and actually access meaningful justice. Otherwise, prosecutors cannot do their job to hold offenders accountable.
One of the themes that Attorney General Coleman says the manual aims to address is providing a multitude of avenues that victims of domestic violence can take and the routes that law enforcement can use to help keep victims safe. Yesterday, Governor Beshear announced Breathitt County will receive funds to complete construction on Kentucky 15 in Jackson. WYMT's Austin Hicks went to Jackson today to learn how that project will impact the area.
During Thursday's Team Kentucky briefing, Governor Beshear announced several eastern Kentucky counties will be receiving funds to help with flood relief. During the update, he also announced Breathitt County will receive funding to complete work on Kentucky 15.
So this is a $50 million project that will widen the road from 3 lanes. It currently has 2 lanes with a center turn lane. It will widen it to 4 lanes with a center turn lane. And it will add sidewalks on either side of the roadway, and it'll also make some improvements to Washington Avenue.
Officials with District 10 of the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet say Kentucky 15 is one of the busiest roads in eastern Kentucky, and the project is intended to keep the people driving and walking safe.
Safety is always a primary concern, and not only that, but there are no sidewalks along that section. Especially there on Panbowl Dam, you'll see people walking along behind the guardrail, and by the time this is finished, there will be a sidewalk on either side.
A portion of the nearly $50 million investment will go towards the renovation and maintenance of the Panbowl Dam. After the dam flooded in 2021 and again during the flood of July 2022, the improvements will give people peace of mind that they will be safe in case another event like that happens in the future.
That's not going to happen, breaching, you know, but it's just going to be time consuming. But it is a major plus to Breathitt County and to Jackson and all of eastern Kentucky that travels it.
Officials with the Transportation Cabinet said the project is scheduled to take 3 years to complete. In Jackson, Austin Hicks, WYMT of Mountain News.
Elkins says work is set to begin on Tuesday, and people should be aware of this and drive safely during the construction. It's going to be a long process there. Former City of Jackson Mayor Rose Wolf died today. She served as the mayor from 2010 until 2018. Current Jackson Mayor Laura Thomas gave a statement on Wolf's impact in Breathitt County and the city of Jackson, saying, quote, "Rose Wolf was a public servant dedicated to improving our community, and we mourn her passing. She touched the lives of countless individuals through her service as a city council member and mayor of Jackson, and also through her volunteerism and personal giving to many causes." There will be a visitation on Sunday from 1 until 5 at Deaton Funeral Home Chapel. A private burial service will follow. Rose Wolf was 69. She would have turned 70 next Saturday.
The Storm Prediction Center has portions of the viewing area under a slight risk for severe weather tomorrow, and we'll talk about that coming up in a few minutes. Stay with us.